AI is changing the game for creators and business owners, but here's the thing. Most people are using it wrong, or they're not using it to its potential. We're going to be talking about 7 AI prompts that really should be illegal. They're so powerful. The truth is, with the right prompt and the right distinction, you can save hours of work every week, unlock better content ideas, refine your business ideas. And I couldn't think of someone better to go through these 7 prompts, discuss each of our unique tactics than Marisa Murgatroyd. She's helped over 15,000 students create and launch their courses. They've generated over $50 million in online course sales. And she's one of the leading experts on how to combine strategy for your ideas with AI so that you can build a more profitable business. And so we're going to be looking at how to summarize big ideas and turn them into ready to shoot content, transform your frameworks, or even create the things you're teaching, the same things you're packaging into frameworks. Just absorbing this thinking is going to be so powerful.
You got to just press record.
ChatGPT has the market share, the mind share, but there's so many great tools out there. I personally pay for a ChatGPT premium membership. I'm a Claude user. I use Google Gemini. Sometimes people say, why are you using one versus the other? I'm like, I don't know. It's just which one I opened up first and I jump between them. And they definitely have strengths and weaknesses. But what's your favorite?
Well, honestly, they change all the time. I've been using Claude to do a lot of deep kind of writing because you're able to create projects and upload a lot of different files. So if I'm doing long form courses and programs, being able to have it reference every single other training that I've ever created and every resource, then it can call back to past trainings. Because I find that when you have breadcrumbs that go through something, it's not like each one is its own thing, but you're able to create an entire ecosystem that's self-referential, that builds on itself. That's really powerful. So using projects in Claude is one of my favorites.
I love that. Yeah. And I use ChatGPT daily. I use Claude for a ton of YouTube titles, for writing, for scripting videos. Claude kind of has that reputation from being a strong writer, if you will, right? Copywriting and even powerful educational content, et cetera. But let's get straight into the prompts. So number 1, summarize long documents for fast video prep. Now, there's a lot of reasons you might want to summarize a long document. But if you're preparing, scripting, outlining a video or a piece of social media content, you might use a prompt like, I'm uploading this research study article or transcript. Can you summarize the top takeaways in a numbered list to explain them in plain language? How do you use this for content, but also in your business overall?
Yeah, 100%. So a lot of times when we're creating content, we are creating content from our experience, but we're also synthesizing a lot of material. And there's great research papers, there are great studies, there are great, free PDFs that you can download on the internet, but people love to watch things in video format. And video adds, basically, there's something called dual coding, if you've ever heard of it. So dual coding is that our brains process audio and visual in different channels, as well as reads in different channels. So when you're combining 3 channels, the brain gets it in multiple dimensions. So what I love to do is if you're using writing as a source content, whether it's your writing or somebody else's, the ability to kind of synthesize sometimes thousands of words into what are those core nuggets, takeaways, the points that you really want to learn, and just help someone bypass having to do all of that work themselves. Of course, if you are an expert, you have that added lens and that added filter. So the prompt you just shared is great. One of the ones that I love to add to that isn't just summarizing the top takeaways, but actually turning those takeaways into 3 actionable insights tailored for your specific audience. So, first you do the summary, but then you actually have it do another pass, which is turning it into the actionable insights that are tailored for your audience. You can also ask, ChatGPT to summarize this for a particular platform. So if you want to create it for YouTube or LinkedIn or Instagram, you can also have them turn those insights into a short video script or convert it into a multi-slide carousel or presentation outline or turn it into an Instagram caption. So there's so many different ways once you have that source content to actually do multiple levels of prompts to create multi-channel content.
This is awesome. So number 2 is turn frameworks into visuals and infographics. I want to break this down piece by piece. First, let's just get on the same page. What's your definition of a framework? What do you mean when someone's teaching something in a YouTube video, in a course? What is a framework?
A framework is essentially a repeatable system or process or technique. It's a way to drive a result. So a lot of times, when you have tipsicles and tip videos and all of that, it's like tip one, tip two, tip three. They don't relate to each other. They're just disconnected tips. And you kind of remember one and you forget the others, but a framework is turning them into an integrated system. So, for example, a lot of times you put a framework inside of a particular shape, like a linear chevron, right? And a linear chevron is just a series of arrows that fit one next to each other. That's like a progressive process. You could also put it into a circular chevron, where the steps, you could start at any step, they build on each other, they repeat, they continue. It's cyclical. You can put it into pyramids, into Venn diagrams, a lot of different way to transform kind of ideas into information. And one of the most famous kind of examples of this is the Japanese Ikigai. So the Japanese Ikigai is a 1,000-year-old framework that says the reason why people in certain places in Japan live to be 100 is they found their Ikigai, which translates to a meaning for being. And that's at the intersection of what they love, what comes naturally and easily to them, what is going to make the world a better place, and what they can get paid for. Now, this kind of philosophy had been around for 1,000 years, but then this Spanish guy heard it and put it into a, Venn diagram, 4 overlapping circles. All of a sudden it went viral, went across the internet, went into like every country around the world. And this 1,000-year-old philosophy had a renaissance and a reemergence, and everyone was talking about it. Books got written about it. All sorts of stuff happened once it was put into the framework. Same thing happened with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the great psychological framework in the pyramid structure. So a lot of times, turning something into a shape, a visual, a framework takes information and adds a level of depth and meaning in relationship to it that makes it memorable and shareable.
It's beautiful. And, I think that this breaks down a couple really actionable insights for our listeners. And that is, first and foremost, if you want to stand out more on social media, especially in the education industry, if you want your ideas to spread, your ideas to be sticky, you want to increase your authority, you should be building frameworks. You should have your own proprietary process. And so it's even the idea that you could prompt AI if you have tips, you have some ideas, you even have your steps, but you haven't refined your ideas. You could ask AI to help you turn it into a framework or a methodology. I think secondly is then naming it. Like you said, Maslow's hierarchy of needs now has a name. Inside of Video Reiki Academy, we have it would be actually a circle, as you mentioned, that is a repeatable process. We call it our 7R framework for YouTube success. And so it is something that we continue to teach. We built our really company on it. And so you could start there. Assuming you have one or you develop one, then you could turn it into a visual. And just to clarify, you wouldn't be using Claude for this. I don't know that Claude does visual. So would you jump to ChatGPT and Canva? What would be your best tech setup to get a great result with this?
You can definitely, Canva has AI tools. I'm pretty sure that you can actually link ChatGPT and Canva so they're talking to each other. And, ChatGPT can come up with the ideas and then Canva can do the implementation of the ideas. So that's definitely something that you can do right now. I know several of the graphic tools that lots of people use now have AI components, so it can create graphics for you. I think the Adobe suite now has AI, and it can, create graphics from instructions too. But Canva ChatGPT is probably the easiest combo.
Yeah, beautiful. So then you could suggest what is the best visual metaphor and play around with it. And then maybe draft a simple sketch that somebody else designs, but AI design is getting so great, you could have a final product. And now you just think about it, you have a talking head video. And instead of just kind of talking and expecting people to hang on just your words, you're showing and telling and giving a visual process that people could follow along with. So number one is summarize long documents into fast video prep. Number two is turn frameworks into visuals and infographics. Number three is generate show notes, descriptions, and chapters automatically. And so if you have any piece of content, this would definitely make sense for podcasts, YouTube videos. the ability to do show notes, the description of the content that could reinforce SEO. And on YouTube, you can do chapters by using Timecodes. You can have YouTube chapters. I got some insights on that in just a second. But Marisa, how have you been doing this?
Yeah, 100%. So you can upload a transcript of that video. And if you don't have a transcript, you can use AI to create a transcript as well. And then just instruct ChatGPT literally to say, I'm uploading a transcript of my latest video, my latest podcast. Please write show notes with the title, a summary paragraph, 3 key takeaways, timestamps, and a call to action. Of course, you can tell it what call to action to weave in. And you could say, please vary the call to action 3 times so I can make it in different ways, throughout. And then you can add your YouTube description. You can add your podcast show description, wherever you happen to be using it. You can also ask ChatGPT to turn it into an email to send to your audience, to also turn it into, say, a Facebook and an Instagram post. So you're able to then not just record the piece of content, but wrap around all the different kind of marketing that you need so people can extract the value from the content and so you can promote the content.
Number 4 is analyze social media and YouTube analytics for key patterns. So the prompt would be something like, here's my recent YouTube and social media analytics, and you could upload a CSV export, identify patterns, trends, and themes across my top performing content. That's the prompt. Now, if you go into your YouTube analytics, you want to go to advanced, and then you could change the settings to say, let's say the last year. So you go the last year, and what you visually can see, I want to say YouTube shows you 50 videos, but if you export it, it's 100 videos. So what you could essentially see is you could see your top performing 100 videos in whatever time range you want with an insane amount of data, exported into essentially an Excel spreadsheet that previously would be almost not useful for you, or would just take a day's worth of microanalysis, and then just drop that file into AI and use the prompt we just suggested. It'll then start recognizing and pulling out these trends and patterns that can help you double down on, maybe follow-up video ideas, insights. How are you doing this? And you're active on all kinds of social media platforms. What's kind of your workflow?
Yeah, 100%. Well, first of all, let me say that I used to pay someone on my marketing team over $200,000 a year because he was a quant, one of those analytical brains who could look at all the different data and then tell me. And I remember he did a YouTube channel analysis for me. And he discovered that when I asked people to subscribe, and then I did this glass shattering and effect on the screen, it had this bump in the view stats. Like people went back because this big thing happened. Kind of, I know our other video was about the dopamine button. It's like one of those things where I didn't just say hit the bell, like it went and shattered. And that caused people to go back and watch it again. And so we started doing this every single time that, I wanted to ask someone to subscribe. But that was like a $200,000 person. And so now with all of our YouTube videos, being able to go and say, well, what are the things that we're doing that are causing spikes in viewerships? What are the things that are doing that are causing dips? Where are people leaving? And then, one of the things that we do now after the fact is not just analyze performance for future videos, but then to go and edit pieces out that are causing people to bounce on existing videos so we can increase performance and view time on the content that we've already recorded without having to even re-upload something.
Which brings us to number 5, deep research. Deep research is crazy. Different. I know Claude has had deep research. ChatGPT has deep research. They're all evolving in this. In fact, if you're listening to this specifically on the YouTube version where you can comment, what's your favorite LLM? Are you a Grok user? What AI are you using? Do you own a Tesla? Are you doing counseling and therapy in your Tesla as you're driving around right now? Let us know in the YouTube comments. But deep research, whether that's stats, sources, case studies, the base prompt could be, I'm creating a video about X, or I'm creating a course module for my online course about Y. Find 3 credible studies, stats, or case studies to support this. Can you do deep research in the industry? Include links or short summaries. I've noticed that in ChatGPT, whenever you start deep research, it always follows up with 4 questions to get even more clarity around exactly what you want for that. How has this deep research been something you've been applying to content, but also to your business, Marisa?
Yeah, well, first, I actually want to say how I applied it personally because that sparked so many different ideas. So my husband was recently diagnosed with osteoporosis, and he was able to put in all of his blood work, all of his like health analyses going back multiple years, and then throw it all into chat deep GPT deep research mode, and then have it flag potential things that could be going on that he could then bring to the doctors. So the reason why I say this is that, let's say you are delivering a course or a program, and you want to do an in-depth case study of existing students. And let's say they're working on something. It could be related to health, it could be relationship, it could be related to business. You could say, okay, I want everyone to record a fight with your partner, right? And they recorded, I want to upload this fight with your partner, and actually have it analyzed. Like, you could use deep research to analyze the patterns of where they might be going wrong in the relationship. But then if you're doing some kind of live call that you've done prep for, you could have the analysis ahead of time and then kind of lead people through as this big reveal live on the line. So there's so much way that you can use deep research to take kind of the real experiences people are having, especially where they might be going wrong. For me in my business, I know a lot of people struggle with the chat, what I call chatterboxing and selling and outreach and trying to get customers, because they end up being kind of sleazy or pushy or just inauthentic. And then being able to say, well, what's the place where people get stuck in your community, whether it's your students or your clients? Have them send you like some kind of export, run the deep research on it, give them an analysis, and kind of provide the solution. And that feels really kind of miraculous right now. Of course, deep research also helps get really interesting things. So if you're writing a webinar or you're writing a training, and I did this recently with the certification program, I would need to give very specific examples at different points in the customer journey, and where, say, they had a disastrous mobile experience, then created a good mobile experience. So using deep research to kind of find those examples that are what make a concept come to life. So that's where I like to use it a lot. So you can say something like, find recent industry reports or data within the last 2 years, locate 2 to 3 relevant business case studies from recognizable brands, or find real stories or real world examples that illustrate this point. All of those kind of prompts and sub prompts will allow you to get some really kind of awesome stuff that just brings your content to life. Because it's one thing to talk theoretically, and it's another thing to ground it. So there's actually, I learned from Brendan Burchard years ago that there are 4 levels of kind of content delivery and teaching and transformation. The first level is the theoretical level. That's where it's just like the sort of why. All right, this is what you can do. Then there's the tactical level, which is the how-to. The how-to is more valuable, and YouTube is full of how-to. However, it's a little bit commoditized because 5 people could give the same how-to on how to use deep research. Am I right? But the next level is the transformational level, where you actually apply the theory and the tactics to what people want to achieve in their own life. So you could say, okay, my audience is this. They really want 6-pack abs, but not for the reason that you think. You see, they're actually computer programmers and geeks who've struggled to attract women, their whole life. And they want the abs not to be able to show off, but just to feel more confident to approach that, girl next door. Right? So you can actually say, find some examples of famous nerds that got fit and it transformed their whole relationship. Now, all of a sudden, you're using it to find transformational stories that are resonant to your audience. And the final level is the transcendental level. And that's where you connect the theory and the tactics, not just to what someone wants in their own life, but for what someone wants in the world, that larger change, that larger mission, that ability to make an impact. So you can find those transcendental stories as well, where, hey, ChatGPT, I want to show that when you take care of your own body and you get fit for yourself, what's the net positive for the world? Can you find some examples that are surprising and heartwarming that will allow my audience to get that at a whole different level?
You have a really great resource at thinkbrainhacks.com called the dopamine button. And as we're going through these AI prompts, everything you're saying is so relevant that we could do deep research, get specific case studies, information, even stories. But everyone has access to these same AI tools. That's good, but also bad, because a lot of people are going to just be regurgitating AI information. But the difference between those who succeed on social media and in building products and those who stay stuck is actually being able to tap into the actual delivery or the actual triggering of human psychology that creates an experience and an interaction with the content that makes you different than all of the noise on the internet.
So if you're selling any kind of program, any kind of service, any kind of offering that helps people get the result, then these are ways to go beyond the delivery of information and create real implementation roadmaps that overcome a lot of the key challenge points and hurdles that people face where they decelerate by working with the way the brain likes to learn and how we feel rewarded.
Yeah, I love that. So this is a super valuable resource called the Dopamine Button, 3 brain hacks that skyrocket your engagement. If you're interested in that, it'll be in the show notes, or go to thinkbrainhacks.com. Awesome. Okay, so a couple more to go. Number 6, competitor analysis for content and strategy. So a base prompt here could be, here's a competitor, YouTube channel or website or funnel. Analyze their content strategy, business model, branding, break down strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities. Now, this is wild, friends. Number 1, high-level business owners, they study their TAM. What's the total addressable market? They do a competitor analysis. They do, high-level PE firms. And this is kind of part of the process. Now, 0% of content creators and even most online business owners do this. And one reason you also usually don't do it is because it's so hard. The time it would take, the energy it would take. You're just trying to get your product off the ground, your content off the ground. But you could combine this with deep research previously to think about what's now at your fingertips to do a competitor analysis. And by uploading their website, even their funnels, it doesn't have to be as simple as just analyzing their YouTube channel. You can try to unpack, what is their strategy? What is their brand? What is their market positioning? What are their strengths, weaknesses? And, another great framework, speaking of frameworks, is doing a SWOT analysis. And what are my business strengths, weaknesses, threats, and opportunities. And if you do that in the context of the greater market, these are just fundamentals that can help you develop your strategy for the future. So there's so many different angles we could hit this. I'm curious your insights of how you might do this when it comes to competitor analysis.
100%. So everything that you said is spot on. They always say that success leaves clues. And I think we oftentimes feel like we have to reinvent the wheel. We're a creator, so we need to create. And I think that there are some things that you want to apply your creativity to, and some things that it's better to leave to proven models. And I like to say, sometimes I have people who come into my programs and say, and I love this. They're like, I'm going to pray. I'm going to kind of find the answers. And there are definitely things in life that you want to pray about, but proven business models isn't always the thing. That's where you want to really reinforce it with just verifiable. What I really like to look for is market gaps. Because the industry is so saturated, being able to say, okay, these are the top 3 people, 5 people with comparable services or products that are bigger than me, but what are all of them missing? And if you search for, Blue Ocean Strategy, they have a business model canvas specifically. And you can say, please plot the strategy of each of these 5 competitors on a Blue Ocean Strategy business model canvas, and help me see what the market gaps are between all 5 of them, and what I might want to increase or decrease emphasis on to stand out and compete against these top 5 partners or top 5 competitors.
What's wild is I actually did that exact thing once. At blueoceanstrategy.com/tools, they give all of their frameworks, which is crazy how many there are, because there is 12, 16. So, they have their strategy canvas, value innovation, red ocean versus blue ocean strategy. And what's so wild, though, is, we're living in a world where when you can connect these different ideas, you could then start with a framework, a template, a lens like that, and then plug in your competitors and then start carving out different insights. And your insight about searching for gaps is huge. And I want to encourage listeners too. It's like, I think everyone's feeling right now, man, it just feels like there's more competition and there's more saturation. And you'd be right. But, at every season of business, that's true. And in every season of business, there's going to be winners and losers. Those who just stay cynical, complain, or get overwhelmed, you're going to stay stuck. But if you take a breath, strategize, do the work that others aren't willing to do, and also lean into a level of strategy that's at the level of depth of even this conversation, there are always gaps. There are always opportunities. Richard Branson said opportunities are like buses. There's new opportunities coming every single day. And even in a micro niche, even like YouTube, well, man, my niche feels really competitive. Yeah, pivot then. Skate to where the puck is going, not where it is. And so I love this one as far as competitor analysis. There's a whole list we wrote of ways of going deeper, but for time's sake, let's move on to number 7. And then I also want after that to get a little bit of your insights in terms specifically for those that are wanting to package what they know into online courses, or in what you call them as experience products, and some of the future of making money online after number 7 for those that want to stick around. But number 7 is brainstorm titles, names, taglines, and URLs that stick. Here's a base prompt. I'm creating a series, or I'm creating a video, or I'm creating a course, or I'm creating a product. Give me 10 name ideas with a confident, modern tone, and also suggest 10 short, easy to spell URL options, if you wanted to buy a website. What are your thoughts on this prompt?
Oh, I think it's amazing because naming is one of the most important things, but it's also one of the most hardest things to do. I might give it a little bit more criteria as well. There are different kinds of naming conventions. So, for example, when it comes to videos, the whole how-to is a really good format. So is what I call big promise positioning. And there are lots of different formulas like how to do X in Y time, do X without Y, like how to fix your back without doctors, drugs, or surgery. You can actually go beyond and say, before doing this prompt, say, do a search for, okay, I'm naming videos for YouTube. What are the top 50 all-time best YouTube title templates, right? Then take the templates, feed it in and say, all right, now here are the top 50 YouTube templates of all time, and I'm creating a course about X, Y, or Z. Use these templates to give me 10 name ideas with a confident modern tone that match my brand. You could also say, please do not make them sleazy, slimy, or use words such as cheating, whatever it is. So if there's certain things you want to avoid, you can also say that. Also suggest the 10 easy to spell URLs. So you can take that base prompt and you can customize it and have it think with a greater level of accuracy and expertise.
That was a mini masterclass. And a couple things. I know you've got a resource. And if you're listening to this, maybe 2 categories I think this is relevant for. One, in a previous episode, we were talking about how, the e-learning industry, this online course industry, digital products industry is still $1 billion a day, and it's growing. So for anyone, sometimes it's thrown around like online courses are dead. I understand what people mean by that. It's not true. It's like, well, if you call $1 billion a day dead, but there's been massive changes. So if it's an industry that you've wanted to get in, maybe you're already in it and you've realized there are changes you need to pivot, then you've got a resource. I want you to tell me exactly what it is, but at smartcourseideas.com, and we'll link this up in the show notes, people can get access to, I think, a 5-day challenge, right?
Yes. So I do a 5-day challenge called Crack Your Course Idea with AI, or crack your profitable course idea with AI. And it's basically, I've included 3 custom AI tools that I hand built and coded to support you in finding that profitable idea. Each day I drop like a 5 to 10 minute training with a quick exercise. And this is the distillation of 15 years in the industry, helping, I've personally trained over 7,300 people who've and helped them launch their courses. So the distillation, based on all the failed launches and all the profitable launches and the people who won and succeeded, is how do you get to that idea that is just going to work, that's sellable, that people are going to want to buy, but also it's something that aligns with you. You're not just finding a niche and serving it. It's something that feels in deep alignment. So you have the passion for it and the drive to see it through.